rapid pace out here early in the second. LeVert, hey, knocks it down. Rondo's on the run. Stops, hits Love. Love fires. Cavs reset with a fresh 14. Under 3 to go in the half. Garland works on Holiday. Toss it for a moment. Shovels to Mobley. Garland, step back three, drew a foul, knocks it down.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children ages, you are listening live to episode number 49 of the All Things Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. Once again, reunited after about a 3-week hiatus. Joey missed the last 2 episodes. Brandon Lewis, Joey Schneider here, as always.
Oh, Brandon, it's good to be back. Good to be home, little brother. Good to be home. Yeah, I missed that. Thank you to Joey Ewell and Clarence Wilson for filling in for me while I was gone. I was obviously on vacation. Loved it. If you ever get a chance to go to Hawaii, it's absolutely phenomenal. But I was watching you guys while I was gone. They did a phenomenal job filling in. But unfortunately, there is only one me, and I am pretty awesome. So it's good to be back, and I am ready to get started with a very exciting topic, Brandon, as we have it. ESPN has released their 100 best players in 2022-2023 for the NBA season. Now, I want to start before we get into the players on this list, and we're only obviously going over the Cavs players. There's 30 teams in the NBA, 15 players to a roster. That's 450 players, not including free agents or players that are going to have to be brought up due to injury. So you have to assume that this is more realistically around the 500, maybe 525 mark. So that's quite a lot of players for the NBA. So we're going to start it off, Brandon. I don't know if you have the numbers in front of you. I got them right here in front of me. Okay. So I'll start off with the first one, and that is Kevin Love, the old man of the team, coming in at number 97. What do you feel about Kevin Love at 97?
So the interesting thing about Love, right, is last year he was not ranked on this list at all. He was not even considered, in the top, whatever, if you will, top 450, 500, whatever pool you want to take from in the NBA. And I think it just goes to show that last year was something that nobody expected. I mean, him coming off the bench and being, nearly, if it wasn't for Tyler Hero and the Heat, being the 6th man of the year. And now it's like we all expect it, like it's natural, right? Like it's normal for Kevin Love to come off the bench. And I think people are forgetting that this is really, only going to be his 2nd year. And the big thing about Love last year, I thought, was he mostly stayed healthy. Ever since about 2019, 2020, missed a lot of games with injury, obviously. And we've seen Kevin's ability. We know he can be a top 100 player in this league. It's just a matter of if he can stay healthy now, even at 33 years old. So, yeah, I'm totally fine with it. I would consider Love right now a top 100 player. 97 feels about right to me.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And one of the things that we kind of forget is Kevin Love was getting injured as he was, 32 years old, playing a ridiculous amount of minutes. When you're getting older in your career and you're still playing 32 to 36 minutes a game, you're going to get injured. And that's what was happening to Kevin Love. He couldn't stay healthy. We were counting down the days and the months and the years until we can get him off the books. And now we're sitting here going, God, I hope he comes back to Cleveland on a lesser contract, because coming off the bench is really a good role for him, especially on this young team. And I think that this year he is even going to be better than last year, because he's going to have a little bit of extra help on that bench on top of that ridiculous starting rotation that we're going to have. I don't know if you want to get into the next player, but I will say Kevin Love 100% deserves to be in the top 100 players.
Yep, totally agree.
So number 80 on this list. The one, the only, the man we traded for at the trade deadline last year, Caris LeVert. And this one was a little shocking to me. I was not sure Caris LeVert would make the top 100, and it wasn't because of his ability as a NBA basketball player. It was because I thought the Cavs used him poorly. They didn't know what to do with him. Kobe Altman got them this guy who can create his own shot, who has exceeded expectations on every team he has played on. And I was not sure he would make this list, but here he is, number 80. The Cavs have had all off season to figure out what they're going to do with him. I'm pretty sure he's going to be coming off the bench. there's one. And it's going to be very interesting to see how he does. I think that him coming off the bench with Love is definitely going to be a boost for him. I think that both him and Love could have an opportunity to become sixth man of the year if he comes off the bench. And that's just speculation. We're still not sure if he's going to start or if Okoro is going to start. But if LeVert comes off the bench, he's going to have a good case for sixth man of the year, I think. But I think number 80, little shocking to me, but not based on LeVert, like I said, based more on how the Cavs used them. But I definitely see it. I mean, he's only 28 or 29 years old, has a lot of basketball left, great player, a lot of experience. Brandon, what do you think?
So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you in the sense of the Caris LeVert that played last year for the Indiana Pacers was a top 100 player in the NBA. The Caris LeVert that played for the Cleveland Cavaliers at the end of last season was not a top 100 player in the NBA. And so the thing is, I think that he does deserve to be on this list, though I don't know if I would put him kind of as low or high, whatever way you want to say it, at 80. I mean, looking at the guy that he is, that the players are a little bit ranked above him. Players like a Seth Curry, D'Angelo Russell, Buddy Hield, Mike Conley, Malcolm Brogdon, Jordan Clarkson, Porzingis, who obviously has dealt with his share of injuries throughout his career. I don't know. You could certainly make a case for LeVert in any of those circumstances, but I think 80 is probably a little bit too high for him. I'd probably put him about that 87, 88 like range right now.
I put him at 75 because I'm a Cavs fan. I think the 80 is the right fit for him. And I think that I think it's not LeVert as a player. It was LeVert as he was used last year. Like you said, maybe he would have been higher if he, stuck with his role in Indiana, but he came over to Cleveland where there's this, young nucleus and obviously some veteran players and Kevin Love having a resurgence. So I think the 80 is kind of the right spot if you kind of average out what he did with the Cavs, what he did with the Pacers. That to me, I think is fairly is a fair spot for him. Considering I didn't think that he was going to be in the top 100. So
I think this year there's going to be a little bit of pressure on him to contribute right away, to be that guy, whether it's coming off the bench or starting to put the ball in the basket. Be what he was when he was in Indiana. That was basically, wherever he's been, Brooklyn, Indiana, throughout his career. He has been a scorer. He has been a guy that has shot the ball at the mid-range level at a high percentage. He didn't turn the ball a lot over in other places where he did so in Cleveland. So in a way, I think especially if he comes off the bench to be that producer alongside Kevin Love in the scoring unit, at least to start the season, because to me, if he does not get off to a good start, or he does not produce at the level, then I think the Cavs are going to look to maybe move him or a certain other piece down the road if he does not produce at the level that we both think he can produce at.
Well, and I actually disagree with you just all the way on this. I don't think that the pressure is on him at all. The pressure is off of him because we signed Donovan Mitchell. And if LeVert's coming off the bench, he's not going to be looked at to be a primary scorer. He's going to be looked at as someone who can contribute instead of having us looking at him going, where's that 20, 22 points a night? We're going to be going, you know what? He had, 12 or 14 points, a couple of boards, a couple of assists off the bench. That's a good night off the bench.
I agree with that sentiment as well. But what I'm saying is the pressure's on him to put up that 12, 14 a night if he can do that consistently. We didn't see consistency even at that level here last year.
Right. But I think that he was kind of going between starting, coming off the bench. They didn't know what to do with him. And because that can ruin a player's flow. And also, also with that being said, there was a lot of injuries last year towards the end of the season. Everyone was looking at him saying, we need you to produce. The pressure was on. And, maybe it got to him. I don't know. But this year, the pressure's completely off. He's probably, like I said, probably coming off the bench. And that's a great rotation to have him and Love coming off the bench together. So and when Rubio gets back, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that's dangerous. Those three players coming in as as a second unit.
Rubio will help him for sure. I'm with you.
Oh, absolutely. You want to get the next one, or you want me to get it?
Let's see. Yeah, I could get it. Jared Allen, who of course you very early in our Believe Win Media Life Cycle wrote about Jared Allen being the heart and soul of this Cavs team. He is ranked at 52 on this list, and I gotta tell you, Jared Allen as a 52nd best player in basketball, it feels about right, even though he is, we both said, kind of the second best center, if you will, to Joel Embiid in the East. I think Jared Allen's a really good player. I think he's a good to great player. I just think there's so many other, good to great talents at other positions in the NBA, especially a point guard and the small forward spot, that it kind of overshadows the centers, if you will, a little bit. But yeah, I think Jared Allen being right in the middle of this list is about right.
Yeah, like I said, Allen, 2, maybe 3 behind Bam Adebayo from Miami. It just depends on the night. I think they're pretty much neck and neck. No one's going to catch Embiid. Embiid's just a monster that will not be touched at center. But Jared Allen, heart and soul, I don't shy away from that statement. I think that he is Mr. Reliable. He is going to get you, at least 15, 16, and 10 a night. He's a walking double-double. He's as reliable as they come. If he has a bad night rebounding, he's hard on himself. He's hard on his teammates. He tries to make sure that they don't make that mistake the next game. And I think 52 is a good number for him. I can't see him going any higher. And as you said, there's just a lot of other positions that potentially are more, I shouldn't say more important, but maybe mean more to their team than the center position does in the Cavs right now. But moving on, and this one was a little surprising to me until I took a look at who was above him. Darius Garland at number 46.
Yeah. I don't agree with this at all. I think Garland needs to be down near the 30s and 20s. I mean, I take a look at this list. If there are players below CJ McCollum, I would take Garland over CJ McCollum. I would take Garland over Tyrese Maxey. I would take him over Draymond Green, DeJounte Murray, LaMelo Ball, Zion Williamson. We haven't even seen play in 2 years. How can you say he's better than Darius Garland? Scotty Barnes, Fred VanVleet, Klay Thompson, our own Evan Mobley. I would say right now, I think Garland is the most important and the best player on the Cavs. I think Darius Garland last year proved that throughout that stretch when he was not on the court, the Cavs were a different team regardless of who else was injured. I think Garland was the primary go-to number one option for this team. I think he's the best player on the team. I think he's certainly, in that top 5, top 10 range of point guards in the NBA. And I think he was certainly slided on this list.
I can agree with that. Garland could probably has a case to be higher on the list. That's number 2. So I got a little something down my throat.
It's that Hawaii air.
It's the Ohio air. I was in Hawaii for a while, and now I'm back in Ohio. I'm adjusting to the air again. Uh, the case can obviously be made for Garland to be higher on this list. I don't know if I think where he's at as of right now isn't too far out of the ballpark at 46. There's really a lot of good players, but the thing I'll say about Garland is he could be 46 right now and end the season at 20. And I think that maybe that's potentially why he's on the list at 46, because even though he had a breakout year last year, he needs to maintain that and maybe even, and dare I say, improve upon it. So he might be 46 right now. He might be 20 or maybe even higher by the end of the season. So I think that maybe they were doing this is where he is right now, but we definitely expect improvement out of him. But like you said, would you rather have Draymond or would you rather have Garland? Well, I mean, depends. Are you asking someone from the Warriors? Because I think they'd rather have Draymond because they got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
And Draymond's the perfect fit for that system. And a lot of this is. And to your point, Garland last year was ranked 84, and he's now up to 46. So if he takes that jump that we expect him to take and get even better, yeah, I could see him. But I mean, maybe I'm just ranking him a little bit higher than maybe most people would right now, and I completely understand that. But I totally expect him to be somewhere in that 20-25 range, you would think, by the time this list comes out next season.
I agree with you 100%. Like I said, I'm not against where he's at right now. The case, like I said, the case can be made for him to be higher, but I think that right now, until we see, he doubled his ranking from last year. So if he doubles it again this year, he'll be in the 20s. Coming in next, Evan Mobley, higher than any other rookie from last year's draft class, coming in at number 36. This one, I think, is very intriguing to me. It's interesting because Evan Mobley's, I think they're going based on his upside, his ceiling. He had a very good rookie year last year. Lost rookie of the year to Scotty Barnes, which I still don't recognize Scotty Barnes as the true rookie of the year last year. Evan Mobley was it, in my opinion. But I think that they're just looking at Evan Mobley saying if he improves upon last year, he's going to be that generational talent. I haven't been on in 2 weeks. I haven't got a chance to say it, that we think he's going to be. And that's for a rookie last year, a second-year player who didn't even win Rookie of the Year in award-wise, to be at number 36 is they're saying that the NBA is definitely buying into the hype, just like we all know in Cleveland. And Mobley is going to definitely be a part of he's going to be one of the key pieces, if not the biggest key to the Cavs' success this year.
This is why I hate lists, and this is why I hate awards. this is exactly why, because everything is always so subjective, right? We talked about it at the time when Scotty Barnes narrowly defeated Evan Mobley last year in the Rookie of the Year category. There was really no criteria. Yes, Toronto did have a better record than the Cavs, and that probably edged Scotty Barnes to that, even though their numbers were probably exactly the same. And Mobley obviously missed a little bit more time at the end of the season. But if you're telling me that Evan Mobley is better than Scotty Barnes, then Evan Mobley should have been the Rookie of the Year. Yep. I mean that's just the way I see it. If they had Scotty Barnes ahead of Evan Mobley, I would have no problem with that. If you're going to say Scotty Barnes is the Rookie of the Year, so yeah, I agree with you though. Just in general about Mobley, this is more about the potential that we think he's going to grow. It's always the opposite of Garland in a way, right? Because we kind of thought, Garland could be ordered higher, but no, we're going to leave him down there to kind of see if he can continue that development. Where Mobley is kind of the opposite, where it's, oh, we see it, we're going to propel him a little bit more. And obviously, we'll see where Mobley takes off this year. But the biggest thing for me with Evan Mobley, we've seen it all offseason with him working on the gym, on his shot, and getting stronger, is in those situations where he may or may not play a little bit of the 5 or even in that 4 position. I want to see Mobley become more of a man this season. I want to see him go up strong. I want to see him get those rebounds. I want to see more interior toughness defensively. I want to see him dunk the basketball more. I want to see him, be more aggressive at times towards the basket. If Mobley does that at his skills at 7'3", there may be nobody in the NBA that can guard him. And I understand he is still, getting his man body. It's going to take a couple years, but you've called him a generational talent. I said I would have taken him, with the first pick in that draft. I know you said you probably would have too, but I mean, the kid is phenomenal. It's just now putting it all together, and hopefully he stays healthy.
I would have taken Mobley number 1 if I was the Cavs. I think that different teams have different needs.
It's a fair point.
And there was 3, I thought 3 good players at the top. Jalen Green was not my top 3. My top 3, and I told you this before the draft, was Mobley, Cade, Cunningham, and Scotty Barnes. So I think that it just depends on, you couldn't have gone wrong, with any pick, but Mobley, I think, is gonna definitely have the biggest NBA career, and he's number 30. What was it, 36?
Yep,
36. He might be a top 15 player by the time the season's over.
I agree with them.
And last but not least, Brandon, the newly acquired Donovan Mitchell coming in at number 24, which I feel is about perfect. I don't think, I don't think you can go any higher, no lower. The guy he's a winner. He is somebody who is played. He's been to the playoffs. He's had huge games in the playoffs. He's played with Rudy Gobert, with Mike Conley, with other great players, and he's the best player on the court. He's still young, only 26, in his prime. He's going to be in his prime for quite a while, and I think this was the perfect spot for him. And I can't believe the Cleveland Cavaliers, 6 players in the top 100 players from ESPN.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You would think that would be the most amount, because I took a look. I thought it was actually the Celtics have 7. So the Cavs are right behind the Celtics there, who have the most at 7. Cavs obviously with 6. And, with Boston, who the heck knows? Something came down about their coach Ime Udoka today. Who knows what the heck's going on with that Boston team.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I think it certainly shows that the league thinks the Cavs are legit, like me and you have both said. Obviously talking to Clarence and Joe Ewell over the last 2 weeks, I think there's a really good sentiment. Obviously those 2 guys have different opinions, as well as me and you, on certain players and different structures. But I think there is a genuine, I should say, consensus that the Cavs are going to be really, really good. And again, training camp is actually going to start next week. We're actually going to get to see, the Cavs practice and hear from the beat reporters and get ready for the season, as we are just a little bit under a month, about 27 days from the kickoff of the regular season in Toronto. Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, opening night. And that will be when these 6 players who arguably all deserve to be on this list and are pretty good and ranked where they are at, get to show that Cleveland is back. Cavs basketball is back in the land, and they will let them know.
If Rubio didn't get hurt last year, he'd be on this list too.
Yeah. Now the question is, like, where would you rank him?
I would probably put him in like the low 90s.
That's what I was thinking. Like, okay, so with Love, that's the thing. It's like with Love, how is he like right there with Love? Is he like 94, 95?
Well, you know what? I mean, I can't. I shouldn't even say low. I shouldn't even say low 90s because we didn't get a chance to see him finish the season. If he would have played like he played all year long, I could actually make the argument for him to be in for him to be in the low 80s somewhere,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe have him at 80 and Levert at 81, something like that.
Well, in fairness to these rankings, I've always thought it's really hard, no matter what sport you're in, to rank general. Obviously outside of the top five or whoever you want. But once you get to that 11, 20, 30 range, I really think it's hard to be like, okay, that guy is for sure better than that guy. I think it's easier if you kind of go by position. But once you get to that general list, right, it's like, well, this guy does this for this team really well. Yeah, but this guy does this for that team really well too. And so it's almost subjective, and you're like a spot here, a spot there. It's really, what do you as a ranker value more? Do you just value stats? Do you value talent? Do you value upside? I mean, again, with this, we don't even know their criteria of going into it of how they rank these players.
Yeah, but it's nice to talk about, Brandon.
Yes, it is. Oh, always the pessimistic one. It's funny because if you listened to 2 weeks ago on ATC with Joe Yule, I told Joe Yule he was acting like me. Because he was being a little bit pessimistic, obviously, on the Cavs. He didn't think that they had a top five starting lineup in the NBA. And I said, Joe, you're sounding like me. I picked it to win 20 games last year.
It's funny. You and Joey Yule are you both overthink everything. It's just a list that they put together of maybe they use some statistics, maybe they just went on potential or past. I don't know what it was, but it's fun to see the players ranked, and you guys are trying to figure out exactly the formula they used. I don't even think they knew. They may have put like, hey, these are the players from the 20 to 100. Let's just draw them out of a hat. Who knows? But real quick, I did want to say this. I did only read the Cavs players that were in the list. You said there were 7 Celtics players.
Yes.
Real quick, I'm going to try and guess them. I'm going to go with Tatum.
Yes.
Jaylen Brown.
Yes.
Marcus Smart.
I believe so. Hold on. Smart's got to be in there. Let's see.
He's got to be.
Smart's in there. Yep.
Al Horford.
Yes.
Malcolm Brogdon.
Yes.
Grant Williams.
Yep.
Robert Williams.
Yep.
There we go.
There you go.
Wasn't hard to do.
Nope.
But moving on, Brandon, I wrote an article before I went to Hawaii for everyone to enjoy and read, and it was about how good can the Cleveland Cavaliers be in 2022, 2023. And I got some good feedback on it, a lot of positives, a couple of people who think that maybe they're not going to be as good as I think that they can be. We're going to talk about it, just a little bit here. And if I'm going to be realistic with you, Brandon, I'm going to kind of keep this short and sweet. Okay.
Go ahead.
Let me bust out my trusty notes here that I had. I would not be shocked with this starting lineup and with this bench. I would not be shocked if the Cavs were a top 3 team in the East. It would not surprise me. I would not, be jumping up and down, going, oh my God, I can't believe that they're a top 3. No, I can. It's definitely a possibility. Last year they were a top 3 team going into the All-Star break. Then the injury bug hit them, and we all know what happened from there. I think that realistically, there's no way that they should fall past the 5 or 6 seed. If they are in the play-in tournament, then obviously something went very, very wrong. But realistically, I'm going to say they're going to be a 5 or 6 seed. The East is extremely competitive. I could see them probably winning 55 games plus, maybe 55 and 60. But the East is just way better than the West now. It's really not even close. There's a couple of teams in the West that are going to be very dominant, but the East is, 10, maybe 11 teams strong. But I think, I wouldn't, like I said, wouldn't be surprised if they're a top 3 seed. But realistically, they're going to be a 5 or a 6. And I'm going to tell you real quick, the biggest key to them getting a top 3 seed, it is going to be 3 players. Okay. And bear with me here. It is going to be Lamar Stevens, Dean Wade, and Jetty Osman. And the reason is because the Cavs have an all-star point guard. The Cavs have an all-star shooting guard. The Cavs are going to more than likely have an all-star power forward this year. The Cavs have an all-star center. The Cavs do not have a wing. We have talked over the course of the last maybe 6 shows or so about hearing all this news coming out of everywhere that Isaac Okoro is becoming an all-around player. I'm not going to take that into account. If Isaac Okoro does, then they're for sure a top 3 seed. But if Isaac Okoro plays like Isaac Okoro does, his defensive game, not really into it on offense, then those 3 players coming off of the bench at the wing are going to be the key to the Cavs getting a top 3 seed or realistically being a 5 or 6 seed. That's the key. They don't need phenomenal play out of their wing. They need just solid play. I don't need them to turn into Kevin Durant or some superstar. They just got to play their games like they played last year, be solid, be aggressive. And if they do that, they're in a very good position.
So real quick before I go. So with you saying Jetty Osmond, you are now under the belief that Jetty will have at least some sort of role on this team then, correct?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that he has a big contract. I shouldn't say big, but a bigger contract. And unless they made a move that I don't think is going to come yet, maybe trading for someone, maybe like a Cam Reddish or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that Chetty's gonna be on the team, and we saw him last year in a lot of situations really come out firing. Yes. and be a big catalyst off the bench. I think that he tailed off during the end of last year when we needed him the most, and it took his minutes. Bickerstaff took his minutes away. So, whether that was the reason or there was something else going on behind the scenes, we don't know. I'm pretty sure it was just the fact that he was playing like garbage. So, they had to, because you saw Dean Wade get a lot more. You saw Dylan Windler get, more time. I'm not putting him in there yet because you cheated last year when we picked our breakout players, and I'm not going to touch Dylan Windler.
I ain't going to cheat this year. I promise you. You, not cheating.
Just so you know, my breakout player for 2022, 2023 is Donovan Mitchell.
But yeah, I mean, in general, I do agree with you. I think the West is very top heavy. There may be some more better teams you go at the top, but I think the East is certainly going to be a dogfight. I think Milwaukee though is the best team in the East. I don't think there's a question about that. But I do think,
I could argue that.
I think 2 through 5, you have the Cavs, you have the Heat, you have Philly, you have Boston. I think, those 4 teams competing for those 4 slots, you could really make an argument for any one of those teams. And I think really the biggest key for this Cavs team is simple. It's health. Because we saw what this Cavs team did last year without the addition of Donovan Mitchell, without, Jetty Osmond going into the doghouse, if you will, without, Dean Wade having a set rotation, without, Karis LeVert being that constant guy. there was a lot of moving parts, and they were still, as you mentioned, a top 3 seed at the All-Star break. And so for me, the biggest key for this team is how they have made the additions. They have plenty of depth. We'll see, in training camp if there's any surprises. If, a Luke Travers or an Isaiah Mobley stand out enough that maybe they have a chance to make the team. I think it's a really good thing for this Cavs team that they have this much depth, that I think they're going to have to make a couple of tough cuts. Dylan Windler may be one of those guys, who knows, depending on what happens here coming down the stretch the next 2 weeks. But I agree. I think Lamar Stevens is going to have a role. I think Dean Wade certainly will have a role. And at times, Dean Wade played really well last year. And obviously he's coming off an injury as well. So I think this team's going to be really good. We'll see. It might, who knows with the Donovan Mitchell stuff. We'll see. Do they click right away? Is it going to take some time to get Donovan Mitchell acclimated into the system and for them to figure out, where he fits best and how to play with Garland and all these guys? We'll see. You never know. October, November, maybe a little bit of a figured out period, like it is for every team in the NBA. You really don't know your true team, I would say, about Christmas. So it's going to be really fun to watch, and I can't wait to see what comes about it October 19th in Toronto.
We are less than a month away from the regular season. I do want to end the show on a little bit of a happy note, though, Brandon.
Let's do it.
According to Brian Windhorst, who got a chance to spend some time with the team, especially Donovan Mitchell, he got to see the Cavs playing together. A lot of, Mitchell and Garland have actually worked out together throughout the summer. So they're very familiar with each other. He said the team looked great, but most importantly, he said Ricky Rubio was ahead of schedule, looking very strong. Wasn't involved in any of the practice, wasn't involved in any of the drills or anything they were doing, but did not have a knee brace on.
Okay.
Was going through strength training, was running up and down. And that is very good news, because if he comes back, I was thinking maybe he might come back January, February. If we get him back, maybe late November, mid to mid December. Oh, that's gonna be a whole nother ball game then, buddy.
So late December, obviously, I think it was December 28th was the exact date the injury happened in New Orleans last year. So usually these injuries take about 9 months to a year. So
we're at the 9-month mark.
Yeah. So I mean, I would expect Rubio to at least be in some game action by the time middle December to late December. That's just my interpretation of it. I don't think he's going to be in right away. Again, if you can only get a couple minutes out of him, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 10 minutes, just slowly acclimate him. So then by the time you get to the All-Star break, you can really take him slow for 2-3 months if you want. You could take him probably up slow. Again, it depends on how the Cavs are doing at that point. But assuming the Cavs are in a potential race for a top 3 seed, you could maybe say mid-March. Then you start ramping up again. Obviously, basketball is such a sport where things can happen so freakishly. You don't want to overplay him and have him, slip the wrong way or something like that, and have another injury occur. So the Cavs certainly need to be careful with him. But yeah, that is great news, because as we talked about, if you could imagine a combination of Ricky Rubio, Karis LeVert, Kevin Love, Robin Lopez, and then, Lamar Stevens and Cedi Osman, whoever you want to put at that 3 spot coming off the bench is that second unit, quote unquote. It's those 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys. That is a lineup that may not be all starters in the NBA, but at least 2 of those 3, if not 3 of the 5, are certainly starters. And the Cavs are one of the deepest teams in the NBA, and that will help them moving forward as we get here into the middle part of the season.
Yep. I think they have one of the best starting rotations in all the NBA. I think they have one of the deepest benches in the NBA. And like I said, wouldn't be surprised if they're a top 3 seed. Let's do it, Brandon. Let's just call it right now. Cavs are winning the championship.
Let's just start covering some games, man. I'm sick and tired of us. I mean, we have been, and this is a credit to us. We have been the only Believe in Media podcast. So we're going on episode number 50 next week. We have been the only podcast that's constantly put out at least one episode every single week. We have sat here for 26 episodes, not covering a single damn Cavaliers basketball game. Obviously, there was some time in there we got to cover the finals and talk about a little bit more of the NBA, but it has been a dry spell since about middle of June all the way till now. In a couple weeks, we get preseason basketball, which, listen, you guys know I'm not a biggest fan of the preseason, but at least we'll have game action to talk about.
We will have game action. We will have news coming out of training camp. We're going to have all sorts of stuff to talk about coming up here very soon. I want to let you guys know, if you are not paying attention to the Cleveland Guardians, pay attention, because they are absolutely on a tear and they are looking like they are going to take the AL Central. If you are not paying attention to the NFL, good for you. I will say that myself and Brandon are both 2-0 in the Believe in Media Fantasy League because we are both champions, and that's what champions do. They win. Sorry, Dean. And who did you play last week?
I played Mel.
Oh, yeah, I beat Mel too. Sorry, Mel. We love you, but you got crushed by both of us. This week I am against Josh Unger, who does not like trash talk. So, Josh, I wish you the very best on your game that I'm going to beat you in.
And I'm going up against our boss, Kevin Sledge.
Kevin, you're going down in a blaze of glory. So,
well, you know what though? But hey, the city of Cleveland's on fire, as Joey was trying to say. Listen,
we're rocking.
I was at that Guardians game Saturday night. We did not stay for the whole game. We were almost falling asleep by the 10th inning. Just an amazing game. Came home and watched freaking nearly 6 more innings of freaking baseball.
You know what? I don't want to hear your crying. I was at the opening day game when they went into 18 innings, and I stayed every single inning.
What game was that?
That was, oh my gosh, hang on. I'm going to look up the year. It was maybe, oh my God.
Why do I not remember this? See, this is why we're not on the Guardians podcast. This is why Mel and James do it.
Yeah, well, that's because I can't remember the exact year that it happened, but it was, I remember because we went with a group of like, it was 2012.
Okay, yeah. Too far in the distance.
16 innings, 14 pitchers, 540 pitches thrown. And it was hot when it started, or I should say hot, but it was warmer when it started. It was freezing by the end of the game. But me and my buddy Tommy, we went with like 12 people, 10 left, and only 2 were standing. I think they lost. But
this is what you get at ATC when Joey's back. Story time and longer episodes. Welcome back, partner.
That's what we do. Love you, Brad. Love you, Brandon. All right, guys. It was fun. Gonna do it again next week. Hopefully, we got some more fun stuff. If you have any ideas, let us know on the ATC Twitter. Brandon, go ahead and give them the Twitter handle.
We are going to be at All Things Cavs. And don't forget, everybody, next week is episode number 50 of ATC. We are this close. We are this close to Cavs basketball. We thank everybody for listening / watching on the Believe in Media YouTube channel. Make sure to check out all the wonderful podcasts, whether it is the Brown and Orange Weekly, Guardians of the CLE, Believe in Media Pile Driver Pod, 8EC. As always, check out all of our content on BelieveInMediaLLC.com. And we'll see you guys next week. Let them know.